Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. We have a really exciting topic to talk about working with youth education and 4-H as Extension Master Gardener volunteers. We're going to hear from some great Master Gardener volunteers about the programming they're doing in their counties. But before we jump in, I just wanted to share a little bit about the Learn, Grow, Share Showcase. And of course, I'm Charlotte Glenn. I'm the NC State Extension Master Gardener Program Manager. So glad to have all of you here today. And we'll go to the next slide. I have Araya April is helping with our slides today and coordinated everything for the webinar today. And Araya is our Extension Master Gardener Program Assistant working with the program at the state level. So this Learn, Grow, Share Showcase series, if you're new to it, this is a webinar series we started a couple of years ago with the intent of providing opportunities for volunteers and extension professionals across the state to hear about what is going on in the counties, what Master Gardener volunteers are involved in, and the exciting projects and outreach and education they're providing in their counties. So a way to share ideas, share resources, and just be inspired by each other. And all of the programming we talk about through this series helps us achieve the Extension Gardener mission. So next slide, which is to empower North Carolinians to cultivate healthy plants, landscapes, ecosystems, and communities through the volunteer service that we deliver as Master Gardener volunteers. And that volunteer service helps deliver research-based information, educational programming, and community outreach in our communities across the state. And this slide also shows the areas we've identified as kind of priorities and areas where we feel like we can make the most difference through the Extension Master Gardener program. These were identified through the survey last year that many of you took place in, and it includes pollinator health and conservation, climate resilient landscapes, sustainable gardening and integrated pest management, food security and human health, and biodiversity and ecosystem health. All right, next slide. So youth gardening education helps us achieve our mission and meet these priorities because it is integral to everything we do in extension programming. So there has always been an expectation that all of our extension programs will have a youth outreach component that will work with 4-H and just help inspire that next generation of leaders, help expose the youth of our state to plants and gardening and agriculture, hopefully inspire in them a love for plants, pollinators, and the environment. So as they grow and go into careers and become leaders and decision makers, they will know about, have the knowledge of those things and care about them and help all of us make good decisions around protecting our environment. And it's a great way to get kids excited about gardening. Also, it's a great way to engage the families. And it's really interesting that this is a big part of why 4-H was initiated as part of Extension. So when Extension first launched in 1914, we had Extension agents. They would go out and knock on doors and meet people and say, well, let me tell you how to do what you're doing already. And you can imagine that wasn't necessarily always received very well by the parents or the adult farmers, the farmers and the homemakers. So 4-H was launched to engage the youth. So instead of working directly with farmers, maybe they've worked with the farmers' kids and say they had corn growing competitions where farmers, it was typically sons, would have a patch of corn. And if they could grow corn better than their father, then their father got real interested in what they were doing and started to build that trust in extension. And there were also homemaker clubs where the young women would can tomatoes. So if they could can tomatoes and they came out better than their moms, then their mom would be like, where'd you learn to do that? So this was really a way to engage the whole family and bring people to extension. And it's still really a big part of that extension model today. So we know that our communities, landscapes, and ecosystems all benefit when children and young people engage in sustainable gardening experiences because it builds their knowledge and it builds their love for these systems that they'll carry through their life. All right, next slide. So we really encourage our Master Gardener volunteers to get involved in youth gardening education. But of course, you'll want to work with your agent and your local 4-H staff to determine what the priorities are in your county, what the existing programming is, and how you can best support that. And also, you will need to register with 4-H online. This is required. This is an NC State University policy. It's actually a whole UNC system policy that any volunteers and employees who work with youth have to go through a certain level of training and registration. For our extension employees and volunteers, that is through 4-H Online, which is a national system. And when you go in to register, you could register as a level 1 volunteer or a level 2 volunteer, with the difference being the level 1 would be if you personally could be left with care, custody, and control of youth and minors. So there isn't another level 1 volunteer there or a parent, or you're the one who is leading a program and responsible for the care of these young people. So our level 1 registration through 4-H Online would require a background screening every 3 years plus annual registration. If you are not going to be in that role, but you're going to be working with youth, you would register as a level 2 volunteer, but that means there's always going to be a level 1 volunteer around, or extension professional with level 1 registration. And that just requires annual registration, so it doesn't require the background check. And next slide, we got just one more thing to mention is about media releases. So one question that often comes up when we're working with kids and working with youth is, if we're going to be taking pictures, can we use those images? So it's important to keep in mind, especially with youth, if you are going to be taking close-up pictures, such as the picture you see here, where you could clearly see who that child is and identify them, you will need a photo or media release, or it's a combined photo and media release. So this could be for images or video, and the child's parent or guardian would fill that out. If you are working with 4-H on this, your 4-H agent, that 4-H agent will probably already have all of that stuff. So you'll want to just check in with the 4-H agent and see if there are any kids that did not have that media release, that if you're taking images, just to be sensitive about that. So we have more information about when media releases are needed posted on our Extension Master Gardener intranet, and we'll include those links in our resource doc that'll go out with the recording. All right, next slide. With that, I am going to turn it over to Araya April and let her introduce our wonderful presenters for today. And also, I just want to say many, many thanks to our presenters. I'm so excited about the work you're doing and what you're going to share with us today. And also want to say thank you to Araya for coordinating this great webinar today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Charlotte. Yes, we want to extend a major thank you to today's presenters for all of the work that has gone into this presentation and to keep these programs as stellar as they are. So our presenters are from Wake County. We have Liz Driscoll, 4-H Youth Specialist. Also 4-H Youth Development Program Specialist, Carlos Moses. Also from Wake County, Deanna Bigio, who is the Extension Agent, and EMG volunteer Noelle Schofield. From Lenoir County, we have Extension Agent Paige Petticrew and EMG volunteers Marsha, Lovick, and Jeannie, Holmes. So now I'm going to kick it over to Liz over at Wake County.
Hey, thanks so much. Appreciate Araya, you, and Charlotte. And I'm delighted to be here with everybody. I always feel like I'm among my people when I get to talk with our Extension Master Gardener volunteers that enjoy working with kids and bringing such rich passion and knowledge to young people. So I'm, like Araya mentioned, one of my roles is that I am a 4-H extension specialist focused on horticulture, agronomy, soils, entomology, and plant pathology, so that subject material. But I'm also here in the capacity as a 4-H volunteer for Wake County and look forward to sharing some ideas with you in just a minute. Carlos and Noel, are we going to take a minute for introductions from y'all?
Okay, I can jump in there. Thanks, Liz. I am Carlos Moses. I've been with Extension going on 16 years, and I've worked in FNEP and 4-H, and I am now in Wake County. And I've done many fun things with Liz over the years, so I'm happy always to be collaborating. And I'll pass it over to Noel.
Good afternoon. I'm Noelle Schofield, and I've been an Extension Master Gardener volunteer for 10 years now. It's hard to believe, and got involved in working with this particular program right before COVID, and it was amazing. We actually did have meetings during COVID virtually, but I've been enjoying working with Liz and having some really special resources in Wake County to make this happen.
Okay, next slide. Okay, so I'm going to give a quick overview. I'm going to back out and give you a little broader picture about Junior Master Gardener in general, and then we're going to dip back into our Wake County program. So specifically, we're excited, and Noel and Carlos will get a lot more into this, but we do have this Wake County Junior Master Gardener 4-H Horticulture Club. So it's a lot, but it's a really special group of young people that come together once a month, September through May, and we divvy up the young people in sort of appropriate age ranges. And I get to hang out with the teenagers, and we have other master gardeners that serve as leaders for the other clubs. And we dig into all the things that you can imagine, right? We're talking about horticulture, we're talking about soils, we're talking about entomology. We use the Junior Master Gardener curriculum as a base for a lot of our activities, but like any good 4-H club, we put our young people in charge of what they are interested in learning about. And so what we do sort of varies by interest, by month, by year. So really, I think as we get into it, you'll see sort of this natural partnership that comes together when we bring our Extension Master Gardeners and 4-H together and really meet those 4-H objectives of getting them to be critical thinkers, caring about their community, their own personal health, and how that all happens through sort of gardening and leadership. So next slide. And just so you know, we have all these great photos and we look forward to sharing them with you. So next slide. Okay, I'm going to take a step back. So as part of my professional role with Cooperative Extension, I'm based out of NC State University on main campus. I've been, believe it or not, Zoom puts always a really nice filter on my wrinkles, but I've been with Extension for 20 years come August. And within this role, I serve as your state coordinator for the Junior Master Gardener program. That really doesn't mean anything except I have our National Junior Master Gardener folks on speed dial, including one of our National Junior Master Gardener folks actually has a grandchild in North Carolina. So we've got a nice pipeline into these great folks who have developed this national 4-H curriculum out of Texas A&M. And for those of y'all that are just getting started in thinking about doing programming around gardening with young people, this serves as such a great foundation. It mirrors the Extension Master Gardener program, putting young people in a position of building up their horticultural knowledge and then applying it through volunteer service into their community. And so as part of my role as state coordinator, we try to do workshops and support regionally all of y'all that want to do workshops. Last year, this was at our state extension conference with our agents. I love it when adults, I'm not going to say make fools of themselves, but are willing to put themselves in the shoes of a young person, and they were dressing up as plant problems. We did workshops in sort of the western part of the state, eastern part of the state. So if this is something that if your region is interested in doing, then I'm glad to partner with y'all, your agents, and we can put on a training to help you get started. Next slide. So that's my professional role. On the personal side of my life, where I'm a 4-H volunteer leader, and these are our teens. I just kind of wanted to give you a little bit of overview of what this looks like. So I co-lead our group with another Wake County Extension Master Gardener, Cheryl. We've been doing it, gosh, maybe 17 years together. My daughter turned 16 on Monday, and Cheryl was there when I was pregnant with her. So that's like a good timeline. We've been doing it for a while because we love working with each other and with the young people. And so we'll do everything from hands-on plant identification to finding additional opportunities, both at the county, state, and national level for our young people that are part of our club. So the left is a picture of our club maybe about 10 years ago, and on the right is a picture of some young people that were in our club that had the opportunity to go to a national 4-H agri-science summit based on some of the things that we had done. So if you can go to the next slide. And again, just to echo what I said earlier, we A lot of it is about what we actually do as a club. We meet on Thursday and we're making terrariums because that's what they wanted. And so the content is driven by our young people, at least in sort of my club. Noel might explain about our other two clubs. And then we also always try to put our hands to service at least once or twice a year and come up with some sort of service project where they can apply some of that horticultural knowledge. Next slide. So I wanted to give you sort of an example as y'all are thinking about the context of what you do. So I'm going to use one of my 4-Hers, Claire, who is a senior. She started with us maybe right out of 8th grade, either as an 8th grader or as a freshman. This is, Araya, I don't know if you can kind of point to well, you can see Claire throughout these pictures. So anyways, Claire came with just an interest in gardening and quickly sort of, I guess, like rose through the ranks within our club. She became a club officer. Right now, she's serving as one of our co-presidents. She and another of the club members will kind of drive all of the business activities. And so very much modeling exactly what you do in a 4-H club in terms of like providing leadership opportunities. Then she said, you know, Liz, I really have a strong interest in plant science. And so on the professional side of my life, I lead a week-long residential pre-college camp on horticulture. She came to that, loved it. The following year, this past year, she did another program where it's called the North Carolina Youth Institute, and she wrote a research paper on global food security, presented it at NC State as a poster presentation, a roundtable discussion, and we took her to Iowa this fall as part of a delegation from North Carolina 4-Hers who are representing our state and their research on a global level. And now just got accepted to NC State. She's going to study plant microbial biology, and she's a Park Scholar finalist. So I want you to think this is both about the activities that are happening in the club, but it's also about how are you helping that young person find their spark and these continue experiences and possibilities, which I think Carlos might talk to you a little bit more about. Next slide. And so in like sort of, you know, as a last big overview, you know, we are 3 clubs and the leadership within our clubs. Noelle is the one who really coordinates all of us. I'm so grateful for her and her organizational capacity because it frees up all of us as leaders to really just get into the fun part of programming. But we really want our young people to be connected to gardening, kind of build their leadership opportunities. We know that this is something that more and more kids need these days, as a place where they feel accepted and they have a chance to be fired up around what interests them. And so again, sort of, I didn't talk a tremendous amount about the Junior Master Gardener program, but it is a curriculum that anyone has access to, and it serves as a really great foundation of resources that will walk you through everything from horticulture, soils, entomology, and so forth. So I think one more slide. Okay. Just taking a dip back into history, I mentioned that my co-leader, Cheryl, and I have been doing it for at least 17, 18 years, but our club actually extends a very long time, at least maybe 30 years within Wake County. It was previously led by a Wake County Master Gardener named Carol Norden. We used to meet at the Extension office. We have switched locations depending on the needs of our people, including being at the Arboretum for a time, and now we're actually on campus at NC State, which adds another sort of interesting layer as young people are thinking about what their future holds and what being on a university campus might look like. And I know that's sort of a special thing for us, but I think there's a lot of replicable models if that's something that y'all think is interesting, like community colleges and so forth. So with that, I'm going to toss it to my friend Carlos. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Liz. So I am going to talk a little bit about the role of the 4-H agent in the county. So should you want to start a club, really any club, but particularly a Junior Master Gardeners Club, you would start with your Wake County office, right? So you connect with your 4-H agent, and we would basically just start you through the process of finding your volunteers, basically forming your club. We provide the 4-H onboarding. So we help the volunteers get towards the 4-H online system. We kind of consult them on which type of volunteer status they might be seeking, depending on their role in that club. And of course, once they are approved and move through those processes, we will work with them to provide them the training, the orientation to the role, the expectations around working with young people, and just kind of work with them to get them situated and ready to work in that club. We'll connect them with members of the office who will talk to them about some of the components of like horticulture as well as just the 4-H programs. And then every year you will have to submit your paperwork to recharter your club and re-enroll your volunteers in the system. So you will keep kind of a steady contact with your 4-H agent or your 4-H representative in that county, and they will always nudge you when you need something done with your volunteers or with your members. Liz spoke to this a little bit about the supporting the youth through their journey. So while we are approving volunteers and helping people navigate registration processes, we are also building long-term relationships with these youth. Like Liz said, she's been doing just this one club for 17 years. So she's seen that connection to those young people and she's watched the growth in their competency and knowledge and attitude change, right? It's a wonderful process. And so we will also do the same and always stay in touch with the leaders, the volunteers, and encourage the youth to join some of the other opportunities that 4-H has. We have teen clubs, we have community clubs, we have a wonderful youth voice program that we always encourage young people to. Claire, Liz was mentioning, is also in our teen council and has spoken at various events. So we really want to encourage our youth to really explore 4-H and the rest of the experiences that they can have there. And then, of course, my teammate, Deanna, our horticulture agent, is here this afternoon. And we really hope to establish like a good relationship, a good working partnership where we can support one another and just lift one another's work up. And we've been able to do that with some things. Last summer, we ran a clover bud camp where our extension master gardeners volunteered. So, but definitely want to have that great relationship with the horticulture agent. Next slide, please, Araya. And then what do we do to help create and sustain these clubs? So we do help you with volunteer recruitment. We have various platforms where we will solicit volunteers or market the clubs, promote the clubs that are opportunities. And whether it's through 4-H Online or our Wake County pages or our state website, we're always promoting the club and we'll always work with you to know when you have new members and new volunteers kind of trying to get in. So volunteer recruitment is a big part of how we support. And then, of course, connecting. So we connect not only to the resources like Junior Master Gardener Handbook, but any and all supplemental resources that could enhance a particular project, a particular service effort. We have kind of our hands on a lot of different resources from the universities, and we can always help you access those just by talking and planning together. So we're always here to help you, and we're happy to kind of navigate this process with you. And so let us know when you're ready to start a club. And I believe that's my last slide. Oh, one more. Regular publicity. So obviously, like I mentioned earlier, promoting the club opportunities through our club's website. We track member registrations. So this is part of the office job, the Office of Wake County in our situation, to let the leaders know when there are volunteers that need kind of approval, when there are new members who need to communicate and get into the meetings. So we work in that way to always keep you kind of finger on the pulse of what's happening with your club and your members. And I will pass it over now to Noel, who will talk to you about the different age groups.
Thank you very much, Carlos and Liz. Yes, we can go to the next slide. No, this is the slide. Sorry, this is the slide I need. I started out as a leader in the 4-H Junior Master Gardener program for 3 years before I became the coordinator of it. And so I've been able to see, both sides as a leader, what it took to also try to coordinate some things with the county. So I'm really enjoying my role as a coordinator, and that way the leadership of our clubs, is free to do what they can to lead the clubs. So right now we're going to start here, just launch right into the wild weeds. Liz has alluded to her club a lot. I just wanted to point out a few things about them. Right now they have co-presidents, and the club is very strong. It's been a strong club for as long as I've been involved, and before that, a lot of the kids learn about the club through camps and through each other. And by the time a child gets to be in 7th grade, they may have tried a lot of things in their life or had those opportunities, maybe not, but they're trying to find a way to plug in and find that not only their purpose, but their people. And so the club leaders and members decide what the club activities will be. And one good thing is that a lot of them are of an age where either they can drive themselves to the meeting or their parents will just drop them off, but some of them can drive. And as Liz said, several members are interested in science careers, which is no surprise. So next slide, please. The wildlife, the 4th through 6th graders, tend to be ones who are involved probably in a wide range of activities in their lives. So we see an ebb and flow in terms of attendance in this group. It's not unusual for them to have a younger sibling or an older sibling in the other club groups. And so, but it has continued to be active all this time. So right now in these pictures, one of our leaders is talking to a group about the practice of herb propagation, and she had brought plants for them to do that activity during their meeting. And then the other picture, there's actually a wild weed who is now in college at NC State, and I can't remember her major, but it is a science major, working with some younger people. So the beauty about having 3 age groups is that it gives the older members opportunities to work with the younger members. Next slide, please. And the sunflowers, I would have to say the sunflowers is kind of like the whole family wants to come to the meeting. It really is a family affair, and parents are just as excited about what's going on in the meeting as the kids are. We do provide a space for parents to hang out in Kilgore Hall if they choose not to be in that club room, but frequently they would like to stay in that club room. And the kids are very high energy, so the activities are geared towards that. Unfortunately, at NC State, we can provide some activities indoors if the weather's not good and there are resources within the building to do some things, but then also outdoors, when the sun's still out, because we meet at night. Keep going. Right now, we need 6 very solid volunteers at each meeting, 2 for each age group. And we have a couple of substitutes on call as needed. I've got here that we need to have 2 vetted adults in each meeting. The way that I like to look at this is that if you are an Extension Master Gardener volunteer, to just go ahead and go through that vetting process of getting a background check, and everybody go just for level 1 leadership. Because sometimes something happens, with that level 1 leader, and they may not be able to make it one meeting, and then that allows the other adult in the room to lead the meeting. If it's a volunteer from another source, it might be a parent, and parents are an excellent pool, especially interested ones, and you can tell who they are as to be recruited to actually serve as an assistant in a club. And we've had really good results with that too. Me as the program coordinator, I take care of making sure that people go through that registration process. It's a little tricky because we are meeting during the school year. We do not meet in the summer, but the registration process, and I think this is statewide or even further, the 4-H club registration process is based on the calendar year. So people might come and register and come to the club meeting, but then you have to say, hey, you've got to re-register in January. to make sure that the rosters are turnover and are current. And so that's something that I help take care of, as well as submit any paperwork that's needed. And in 2025, the Extension Master Gardener volunteers logged 175.5 hours earned and had 267 youth contacts. And please excuse my voice. I'm a little gravelly today. Next slide, please. Okay. What encourages participation? One thing is that there's really not a charge at this time. There was a charge at one time, but I think that went away a while ago. And older children are club leaders. The meetings are in the evening, which has some advantages for some people. We have actually a free parking lot, if you can believe it, at NC State. As any big university, parking is always very difficult. But at NC State, we've got the access to a free parking lot after 5 o'clock. So it's better for some families to get there. Sometimes the Extension Master Gardener volunteers who work during the day and are looking for opportunities to earn their hours, this is an evening opportunity that they can participate in, and that's attractive. We have field trip opportunities that can be held on the campus itself. We also go to the Arboretum once a year for our end of year celebration. We can make presentation assignments in our clubs, which has happened around different topics where kids get an opportunity to learn more about public speaking and leadership, which is a big tenet of 4-H. I communicate with any family inquiries or questions or coordination. And another thing is that older children, for the older children especially, there's some very strong relationships that are formed in the club environment. So friendships that have been going on for years. Especially with the older group, a lot of them have made a decision, that they want to participate. This is something that they're highly interested in. And so you see that regular participation with them more. Next slide, please. Also on the other side of it, evening time can be hard for families. Everybody's running around, as y'all know. And even though, we do our best, even daytime can be difficult too. Parents do come to the field trips, and we need to recognize that 4-H is a family thing all around. Also, there's a lot of high quality youth programming available in Wake County that competes with 4-H. And that, I think, has an impact on the younger kids coming with regularity. And maybe a camp environment, they would be able to commit to that a little bit more easily with regularity. But club members are not required to come to the meetings. And I've already spoken to the high school level club being our most stable one. So next slide, please. Ways that we know, and we need to do a little bit more formal surveying, but we've done some polling, and we know that ways that we can tell that things are going well is when we can see a club member pursuing higher education in a related field. When we see regular participation, we can see investment in the volunteers that are working with the kids, that there are relationships made, there's leadership quality that's developed with the kids. And that's pretty much what those areas are that I wanted to point out. So next slide, please. From parents, some of the feedback that we've gotten was that, they're very attracted to their children engaging with university resources, settings that are inspirational. So for many of us, that would just need, simply have access to a garden that the kids can work in. Some of the kids don't have access to gardens. So they want to connect with Extension Master Gardener volunteers and learn from people who've had training in what's going on at the club. They come to do something of common interest with their peers, to collaborate, socialize, meet kids outside of the school community, and find some service and leadership opportunities and have fun. There's a lot of laughter as I walk down the hallways during meeting months in these classrooms. All right, next slide, please. And this is a little redundant, but just listing some of the subject areas that were pointed out when we asked for feedback, which we've spoken about before. So we can move to the next slide. So here's some examples of club meetings that have been held. And one of them was in May. Every May, we meet at the Ralston Arboretum, J.C. Ralston Arboretum. If you have had an opportunity to go there, that Arboretum is connected to NC State. There were some seniors who graduated, and Liz brought them all flowers, and they got some green 4-H cords, and she made a presentation for them. And we always eat Howlin' Cow ice cream. That is an NC State product. And then one of the services that they did was there's a giant yurt that is an educational building in the Arboretum. And the club members washed it down because it was filthy, but they cleaned it up pretty well. A lot of glass, and then there are other activities that we do out there. And I've been lucky. We've been lucky. We've had good weather every single time. I don't know how that has gone, but in Raleigh, you never know. Next slide. This is just another example of the Wildlife Club. They were learning about squashes, pumpkin growing, and the leader actually had some felting skills, so she did a felting craft with them. Another slide, please. There is a propagation room in Kilgore Hall on the lower level that you can get down and dirty in. And the kids, once a year, we usually do this around the holiday time. Families come, and there are some cuttings or plants that have been generated or brought in from the greenhouses, the Fox greenhouses, for the kids to take cuttings and take home some plants to nurture that they've propagated or set up for propagation at that meeting. And that's always very well attended. Everybody loves that opportunity. Parents very enthusiastic about it too. And there's Liz over there drawing a diagram at the club meeting. Okay, next slide, please. A few other examples. We had herb harvesting this year so far. Here's a picture of a praying mantis that was brought in with a juicy bug that they got to witness the praying mantis eating this bug, and they just flipped out over that. And propagation, of course. So another slide, please. One of the issues in Wake County, and I know in other rural counties, there are different challenges related to the same things, but it does take time and transportation to get to our meetings because of where it's located. It's rush hour when the kids come still. It can be you have to plan ahead to get there on time. So we try to encourage that, and most people do, but sometimes kids just show up late because they've got no choice. The traffic can be an issue. And sometimes when we're looking for volunteers, a lot of times with a group, and we have a very strong, as you know, group of Extension Master Gardener volunteers in Wake County, and train a new group of them every year. But just because maybe a volunteer says that they want to work with children doesn't necessarily mean that they have experience working with children, which is a whole different ball of wax. So we have to kind of feel that out a little bit and make sure. And then I think when it comes to looking for volunteer help with Extension Master Gardeners, they go through so much training anyway, but just to also get information as they go through the process of training about what their experience is with kids in an educational setting, because that would be the ideal candidate for a leadership role. I've talked about the registration process a little bit, and staying on top of that can be a challenge sometimes. And I'll move forward to the next slide there. Right now, any new trainees in Wake County go ahead and go through a county background check as part of their application process or training process. So we have, when they come out of that training, and I believe there's 20 people involved in training now, when they finish up with their training, they will all have gone through the background check, and it's not something that me as a coordinator needs to stay on top of because they've already done it. So thank you, Deanna, for that. I've talked about leadership being found with parents. I've some real gems of volunteers and reliable volunteers. And another tip is to have somebody who'd be willing to keep track of the administrative tasks. It might be manageable when you have one club that you're going to start out small, and the leader would be able to stay on top of that. But because we have 3 different age groups and it spans a large number of people, it's been helpful to have somebody just focus on that, and I sub sometimes, in the club meetings. So the next slide, please. So another piece of advice: start small with one age group. And one idea is, if you truly are going to use this particular model that we're talking about here, it might be easier to work with older children first and then see how it goes. There is also, some clubs have a bank account connection. They have money. They've raised money for a task. One tip I would say would be to maybe not open a bank account at first, to just form your club without that being a part of it until you feel like there's a need for it. There are other forms that are connected to the banking account. So I would suggest starting without one and then moving forward from there. And also choosing an environment to meet that has access to space that around them that science learning is going on, and with an accessible garden in place would be an ideal environment for a club meeting. Next slide, please. And we have here a couple of pages of resources, just some websites about ourselves as Wake County Extension Master Gardener. Kids Gardening is an excellent supplemental resource to the Junior Master Gardener curriculum. The email addresses of all the presenters here. And one more slide, please. And this was a slide list that is for 4-H. You can see the teacher guide can be found online. It's the last entry there. And then you can see the list of all of the clubs in Wake County, for example, if you pull up the club list and their descriptions. And the rest of them are pretty self-explanatory, unless, Carlos, do you have anything there about this list that I should bring up that I have not? Sorry to call on you real quick.
No, I don't think so. On the Wake County 4-H page, you'll also see our staff-led team clubs, which are slightly different from our community clubs. But other than that, no, you did great, Noel. Thanks.
All right. I am actually at the end of my presentation, and I'm going to hand it off to our friends in Lenoir County.
All right. Thanks, Noel. So just to kind of get you guys started, so I'm the consumer horticulture agent in the county, Paige Petticrew, and with me today I've got several volunteers that are going to share about our programs. So to head us off, we have Marsha Lovick with us, and she is going to talk with you guys about what we call Garden Science Investigators, which is basically the Junior Master Gardener program, but we call it Garden Science Investigators. So with that, we'll turn it over to Marsha.
Okay, I'm glad to be here today to tell y'all about our take on Junior Master Gardener material. This is our 5th year offering a standalone Junior Master Gardener camp. This year, our camp will consist of a 5-day, 9 to 4 each day standalone experience. And we're going to pack those 5 days with all things botany, insects, and gardening techniques. We call our camp, again, as Paige said, Garden Science Investigators, and that's something that the kids really like. They like that name. We charge $50. That barely covers the cost, but it does call for commitment from the parents and the children to attend. That also includes their camp t-shirt, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. We limit our participation to 10 campers, ages 8 to 13. The limit is because we do have a lot of activities that require a lot of hands-on things and help from our volunteers. And also the practical side of that is when we take a field trip, we use our 4-H van, which will hold 10 campers, 2 adults, and the driver very comfortably. So that's the practical side of that. Each camper completes an application and is signed up on 4-H online. They bring their own lunch and snacks each day. And the really neat thing about the snacks is there's usually a snack swap each morning, and it's really a lesson in negotiation to see this go on. And you can really pick out a leader as to how they handle this snack swap. So it's pretty cool. The kids learn all kinds of things. Every day, except for the first day, we'll take a morning field trip, and you can see these listed here. Just want to talk about a little bit about one of our field trips. We hope that the campers will use all 5 senses as they navigate through these 5 days, and these four of the 5 field trips will help them do that. One of our field trips is at the Senior Center in Lenoir County. This came out of the Master Gardeners teach a monthly gardening class at the Senior Center, and we thought it would be really neat for the kids to go there and interact with the seniors. The first hour of that interaction or that class would be, it started out as just a class for one of the Master Gardeners to teach our children all about herbs. Well, the seniors were kind of interested, and they asked, well, why can't we sit in? So we welcomed them in too. So we have a whole room full of interested people listening to our Master Gardener teach about herbs. After that, the campers have researched an herb, and then they do a presentation. This is their oral presentation part of the Junior Master Gardener course. And you can see in the bottom slide here, one of our campers doing his presentation. And you can see all age groups from 8 to 65, 70, 80 years old are listening to this young man present his presentation. Our time ends there with a loud and competitive game of bingo, and it's all about insects and all about plants. And the seniors really get into it with the kids, and the kids really enjoy the help that the seniors give them. And there's even prizes, so it's a really good time. This satisfies the Senior Center's intergenerational event that they should have each year, and it helps the seniors interact with the children. They say they miss their grandchildren, so they're so glad to have our children there. And our children are so kind to the seniors, and I think that they see their grandparents in these seniors when we're there. So it's a win-win situation for everyone. Next slide, please. So yes, we do use the Texas A&M JMG curriculum as a guide. We do try to cover at least one lesson in each topic. And during our week with the campers, we say that they're going to be botanists, they're going to be entomologists, they're going to be chemists, and they're going to be construction engineers. And when we tell them that on the first day, then that really piques their interest because they want to do all those things. And this is all accomplished with the partnerships that we have from, you can see the people listed on the slide, our family science, our family and consumer science and 4-H agents help, extension specialists, master food volunteers, local landfill supervisor, our senior center, the North Carolina Department of Transportation. We try to draw in all these resources to help along with our master gardeners. In one of the lessons, we talk about the different uses of plants, and we choose aloe to talk about. The kids actually extract the juice from an aloe leaf and mix it into about an ounce of an hypoallergenic hand lotion. And presto, we have 10 chemist campers that go home with some aloe lotion. And this is really exciting for the kids. One of the girls even said this was the best thing we did all week. So that was their chemistry part. You know, when you mix 2 things together to get a third, you've done chemistry. So that's important. The weather lesson offers the opportunity to build a weather station. And how we do this is we attach a rain gauge and a thermometer to a spindle using a hammer and what seems like a million nails when it really is only about 5, but you would think there's a million from what's going on in the room at that time. Some of the campers have never used a hammer, so this is a lesson in this experience as well. It can be a little dangerous for those of us who are helping because we got to watch where our fingers are, but we haven't lost any fingers yet, so that's a good thing. The noise of the hammers nailing at the same time can be deafening. We have our classroom in the kitchen at the extension office, so we're all closed in there, and the noise is really loud. We solved that problem by padding, putting a quilt or a towel under each project, and that helps soften the noise for us. At the end, the kids have got this weather station with the rain gauge and with the thermometer, and they take it home, and they are really proud that they've been construction engineers. They've actually built this, and they are very happy to see their parents when they come to get picked up, and they tell them that they built it. So that's a cool thing. We satisfy the career exploration segment of the Junior Master Gardener curriculum by having each extension specialist, the 4-H people, different extension staff come in and talk to our kids about their education, where they went to school, what they took, how they chose this career, and what their job responsibilities are. So it kind of opens it up to these children to know what kind of careers are available through the extension. And it really turns a lot of them on to wanting to go into some type of horticulture, agriculture, that kind of thing, because we do talk about it. Let's see. We added a fun thing about 2 years ago. We started what we call as an aha table. And on that, we put different things that we wouldn't normally talk about through the curriculum, but we wanted to show it to the kids. We have things like the casting of an underground fire ant hill, which is kind of cool. One of our exterminator friends let us borrow that. We show different kinds of bird nests. We show different kinds of cocoons that we found, different kind of leaves, just anything different that the kids might not be exposed to in the class, but we want to expose them to it. So one of the big things was when we did the AHA table on recycling, and Paige's nephew happened to be in the class that year, and he was really into it. He listened. We talked about all the products that come in recyclable packages and those that don't. She tells me he went home to her house and went through all her cabinets, and he pointed out what could be and what couldn't be recycled, and that she should not buy anything packaged in a non-recyclable package. So I think that's changed her shopping habits, maybe just a little bit. We have also displayed poisonous plants, poison ivy. We had a rue one time that was in our raised bed, so we showed that to the kids. We've displayed the North Carolina poster that's all about poisonous plants, and the kids are really amazed to find out that tobacco is listed as a poisonous plant. Mistletoe is listed as a poisonous plant. So it brings a lot more plants into their thought process. This year, we're going to use the North Carolina Department of Transportation material entitled SWAT a Litter Bug. And this gives you all kinds of information about what litter is, what trash is, what it does to our environment, and how we can save our environment by putting litter in its proper place. So the website to get that will be on one of the slides, I think, but it really is a good lesson. So I would challenge you to maybe look at that and check it out. Let's go to the third slide. Okay, so we try to utilize all of our master gardeners. We try to utilize all of our extension staff, and then there's some outside folks that come in too, so the kids get exposed to all different people. Of course, we call our person that's in charge of the JMG camp a committee chair. So, of course, she's going to accrue more hours, but she also accrues more gray hair and more wrinkles because she's responsible for the schedule, for getting the volunteers, for making sure everything goes the way it should be. So you can see that we've got quite a few hours there involved in our camp as well. We are very blessed to have master gardeners who want to come back each year and teach, and also extension staff that want to come back. And we surely do take advantage of that. And we're glad because we use everybody's talents. We want them to teach if they want to. They can do crowd control if they want to. They assist the kids with their projects. So it takes all of us to make this quality camp. You can see the top left slide shows one of our master gardeners teaching the campers about the different bees and how important a bee hotel is to the solitary bee. This hotel is located on our extension campus, and it's maintained by the master gardeners. The slide down at the bottom on the right shows our master gardener bug specialist, and she is showing the kids different bugs that we may have in our raised beds. We have 2 on the campus that we use as part of our outdoor classroom. So all we have to do is walk right out of the door, and there we are in our outdoor classroom. So that works out really well for us. Next slide. I think I'm talking too fast. How do we measure success? Well, we measure success by listening to the kids. You know, it's amazing what 8 to 13-year-olds will tell you, and they're brutally honest sometimes. So we do take into account what they say. One of the little girls one year said, I thought we were going to plant in this class. I want to plant more. So we started planting. They took home a potted plant that they had planted every day, be it a vegetable, a herb, or a flower. And they were very happy about it. The parents were a little concerned about what they were going to do with all these plants, but we were happy to send them home with them. Let's see, what else? We measure it by asking the parents. You know, we have them fill out an evaluation. And one of the concerns they had was they wanted us to schedule more like a school day, 9 to 4, which would make their drop off and pick up better with their work schedule. So we're going to try that this year and see how that works. The volunteers, you know, well, sometimes we have a time of volunteers because they ask for pay raises every year, and we really can't pay them anything, and because they're priceless. But we do thank them and are very glad to have them to help us all the time. We have an after action meeting, and we invite everybody that's been involved with the camp to come and to that. And we do listen to what is said, and we do tweak things according to what is said, and hopefully it makes for a better camp. I want to point out something on this slide. This bottom right slide shows our kids. This was a field trip we took to NC State, but they're wearing their camp t-shirts. As we said, that's included in the cost of the camp. But they tie-dye these t-shirts themselves after they've had a class on natural dyes. So they're really proud of these t-shirts, and we are too, and we think they do a great job. And I remember as we were walking around the NC State campus with our folks, we got a lot of good compliments on our kids and how nice they look with their camp t-shirts on. So that was a good thing for these kids. Let's see. Have we got a next slide? No, we're still in challenges. Let's go back. I'm sorry, challenges. Okay. Our biggest challenge is trying to find the time in the summer to have our camp. We want to have it, well, the volunteers want to have it right after school is out in our county, because if we wait too late into the summer, then the summer heat is just so bad. And that's one reason we have our field trips in the morning, so we can beat the summer heat and have our class time in the building in the afternoons. But, you know, we want to get this camp done right after school is out. So that's an issue. We're trying to coordinate it with the 4-H district and state events. But this year it's June 22nd through the 26th. So that's a good thing. We also want to release this information early. As you know, a lot of camps start issuing their information in early January. And if we wait much later than that, then these kids and these families have filled up their summer time with vacations and with different camps. So we want to be first out of the gate with our information so that we can be available to any kid that wants to have it. We have had several parents say, well, I wish I'd have known about it. I would have scheduled it, but they're already full. So we're trying to be proactive this year and make sure we've got it. We have tried many schedules. The first year we were every other Saturday morning for about 3 months. That's when COVID shut us down for a little while. Then we went to a 3-day-a-week camp for 2 weeks. And then we went to a morning camp each morning for 2 weeks. And now this year is the 5-day-a-week camp. So we're very willing to be flexible and try different things and try to make it work for everybody involved. I think the most important thing to remember is for the campers to have fun while learning, to have those aha moments, and to be flexible in how your day goes. This is an example. One day on a hike around our extension campus, we are lucky to be in a rural area, so we have a lot of mature trees and a ditch that runs around the back of our campus. We came upon a cicada that was coming out of its shell, so everything stopped. Okay, and we watched that cicada come out of its shell, and whatever was going to happen next, it did happen, but in another scheduled event. So it's always good to be able to be flexible in what you're doing. Next slide, please. Okay, how do we keep our kids involved? Again, it is a standalone camp, but we do ask our campers to come back and help us with different events, with our plant sale. We ask them to help us work in the greenhouse. We ask them to help in the children's garden. When we moved our children's garden from one site to the other, we had a time where we didn't have a site. So I remember we had a line of kids out near our greenhouse. We were unloading bricks from a trailer and stored them behind our greenhouse. And most of those folks in that brick line were our past campers. So they are very willing to come back and help. We invite them to come back to special events, like when the Capitol Christmas tree came from the North Carolina mountains. We were all asked through 4-H to make Christmas decorations. So we had a big class or time for the kids to come and do that. And that was a really good time for them. We do have them come back too to help us. The Master Gardeners and the extension here help decorate historic Harmony Hall in Kinston for Christmas, for their Christmas open house. So we'll have the kids come back and help us make decorations for that. I remember we strung popcorn one year and we had a pizza party for them. So they came to string the popcorn and get a slice of pizza, and that was fun. On these slides, you'll see, if you'll take a look at the left, the one on the left on the bottom, that's a volunteer helping with the weather station. And you can see the padding on the tables, and you can see that the volunteers got her fingers curled back and away from the hammer. So this little girl was hammering a little heart out, and she was very proud of her little weather station. On the right at the bottom, you can see that the kids are having a class on Venus flytraps. This was one of our master gardeners had a real interest in Venus flytraps. He came, brought, and talked all about them, and he even separated one so that each child got to go home with a plant. The 4-H agent up top left he's the program assistant. He's helping the kids make purple dye. That's when we had the class on natural dyes. I believe that's Paige in the middle slide on the right, and she has found something around the raised beds that all the kids are interested in, be it a worm or a different plant or something. So we try to do all kinds of neat activities to keep the kids interested and help them learn. And it's just a fun course, and I hope that anybody that wants to start a JMG course or has any questions, we're glad to answer them. Hand it to you, Paige. Next. Oh, I got another slide. Sorry. Okay, here we go. These are the visuals that we have used. They're bright, they're colorful, they're full of information. We post them on our Facebook page. We post them on the extension Facebook page. 4-H posts them for us. We put them everywhere. We have our volunteers take them to their churches, to their schools. We post them at the farmers market. A lot of it, what we do is by word of mouth too. And it gets the information out there, and we're very glad to talk with anybody about the class and hopefully get some registered. I think we got our 3rd camper signed up this morning, so we're on our way to having our 10 for this summer. I think it's back to you, Paige.
All right, so you've heard from Marsha, so now we're going to switch over. And another project that we have here where we do youth programming is our children's garden. And so our committee chair for that and kind of our ringleader for the children's garden is Jeannie Holmes, another volunteer that we have. And so she's going to talk to you a little bit about the children's garden specifically.
Thank you, Paige. And to begin with, I wish y'all could all be here in the garden with me today, but since you can't, we're going to have a quick tour. So we started with a blank slate on this piece of property, and this is our 3rd year. While I'm talking, you're taking a tour of our ABC garden. We have a little over half an acre, so we have ample room to expand. The master gardeners here in Lenoir County and the horticultural agent, we manage this garden. We're located at Richard Caswell Memorial State Historic Site, which makes our children's garden very unique because we are connecting the history of the 1700s with garden education. We're about 10 minutes away from the extension office, but we are still in the city limits. We have ample parking. We have access to the bathrooms in the museum. We have water and electricity, and we're also highly visible on the main thoroughfare. So this location checked off all the boxes. As you can see from the pictures, we have at the bottom, we have the entrance of the children's garden. We have great signage. This is sort of kind of as you walk into the front. And as you notice, there's a split rail fence that probably was used in the 1700s. We also have a picture of our founding farmers garden, which is a row garden, and that we incorporate all the plants and planting methods from the 1700s. You might ask what that tall green plant is. That's called mullein, and it had many uses in the 1700s. The Native American Indians also used it. Our garden consists of a Revolutionary time period row garden. We do have 9 raised beds, and 2 of those are designed for handicap accessible. Berry patch, pollinator pocket, native garden, the ABC garden. We have a reading circle that's made up of maybe 2-foot little logs that the children can sit on, and we have multiple teaching structures and much more. Next slide, please. Our program, and we do offer summer camps. Like I said, we're going into, this is our 3rd year. Our typical ages are between 5 and 8. They could be a little bit older. We do require a very small camp fee that helps offset the cost of materials and helps with commitment. We do partner with the 4-H agents, and they are great. We offer private workshops and tours when asked. We've had garden clubs, homeschoolers. We even had other county master gardeners come and check us out. We're open to events for all ages, and we're also open to the public. That means there's no locked gate, so anybody can come anytime and enjoy the garden. We don't really have a designated source of curriculum. We do use the JMG curriculum. We make sure that we have grade level learning objectives. If a group comes and they would like a certain topic covered, we'll be glad to do that. At camp, we have weekly themes along with literature. The pictures that you see at the top, you'll see the bracelets made out of painter's tape with the sticky side out. We took a tour of the garden, that's garden exploration, and they created bracelets of the treasures that they found along the way. We're in the row garden, and we are examining green beans that are actually growing and the seeds that were inside. They thought that was very fascinating. The next picture, as you can see, we are in the process of going on an insect safari, or AKA bug hunt, and they thought they looked really good. Our reading circle at the bottom, we are introducing our theme and book for the week. We usually try to have something every week that's different. Next slide, please. Our volunteers. This is last year's reporting. We had about 13 volunteers, as you can see. We had 462.25 hours. The committee chair had 245.25 hours, so there is not going to be a problem for you to meet your 20-hour volunteer requirements for the year. We're lucky enough to have Boy Scout Troop number 41. They have been with us since the very beginning. They have about 10 youth and 4 leaders. They have volunteered to come out and do various jobs that we need. They've built our raised beds, compost bins. We've had an Eagle Scout do their project, which has turned into another teaching corner. And along with that, helping with their badge requirements, they do have camping rights. So when they're finished with their work, they get to set up their tents, and they can stay overnight and do what boys do. So our topics, well, they can be tailored to any age, and they can be tailored to stand alone for any single program. We do have a large demonstration area for horticultural topics. As you can see at the top, one of our volunteers is helping with a leaf rubbing, which you would think would be very interesting, and they get to create a sun catcher to take home. The sun, we're talking about garden manners. Children always hear about rules, but we call those manners, and this one happens to say, make sure that you ask permission before you pick a vegetable. Our theme, we have themes for our gardens. This, obviously, you can tell is Mr. McGregor's garden, and there's Peter Rabbit's jacket that he's lost. And in that raised bed are all the vegetables that they talk about in the book. And if you look real close, you might find Peter Rabbit hiding. The bottom picture, we're talking about parts of a flower. That's another thing that they can take home. We like to have something for them to take home to share with their families and friends, along with a snack that goes along with the theme for the week. Next slide, please. Our challenge is, well, it does take many hands and it takes many talents. The labor is, as you can expect, is extensive. You need to plant, weed, rake. You need to keep up with everything. It's not just a one and done project. You do need to plan ahead. And, right now I'm planning for the fall. So, and sometimes the weather is not always cooperating. This summer we had severe heat, so we did have to shorten our camp hours slightly. And you might be planning something in the winter outside, and then you have to postpone because of the snow. How we're going to sustain our program, we have many partnerships. We're lucky enough to be with the other extension agents, the county officials, Chamber of Commerce. They've been out several times. Local businesses, when they find out what you're doing, they are thrilled to help. But don't be afraid to ask anybody else. We like to use the extension for easy partnerships and with funding. The video that you're seeing is a video that shows the story walk through steps of health. It leads the visitors throughout the garden as they follow the storyboards along. We're lucky enough to have our very own author, Paige Petticrew, that has written all of our stories. Sometimes don't be afraid to ask someone if they would like to help sell your program. We offer a tax-deductible charitable gift form through our 501c3, or you might have a NC State Foundation account that you can use. Next slide, please. Okay. How are you going to measure success of your program? You might have already been asked, or you might be asking us. Well, we do have observations throughout the camp time. Parent comments are wonderful. They're thrilled. They told us, oh, we tried that last week at home. The campers, well, they begged to return. They begged to stay longer, and some of them didn't even want to leave. We do discuss as a committee the good and the bad. But we found that the most measurable of success is through the child's artwork. And as you know, all children are master artists. So at the beginning of the camp, the very first day, we always ask the children, how many of you have a garden? Who's ever seen a garden? Then each child gets to draw their idea of a garden. Then at the end of the camp, the last day, we do the same. We ask the child the same questions, and this time they get to draw their new idea of a garden. Each time, the camper tells a volunteer what they have drawn, and it's documented on a sticky note and put on the back of the drawing, and make sure that their name is along with that. That way you can pair the two at the end. Next slide, please. Oh, this is good. So our first picture, this is Trey. We asked Trey to draw a picture of his garden, and as you can see, it's water. So you might notice that that is on off-white paper, and I will explain that in just a moment. This is Trey at the end of our summer camp. Trey has the sky, flowers, a butterfly. He has plants in that magic word of soil. And he also has worms in the soil. Peppers, he has watermelons, and those watermelons have black dots, which are the seeds. You'll notice that that picture is on white paper, and that helps us distinguish between the first or the pre and the post pictures. So that helps you when you're comparing the two together at the end. Next slide, please. This is Bella. Bella's pre-picture is the sun, clouds, flowers, oh, she's used dirt, and people. The next picture is the last picture. She has sunshine that makes things grow. She has clouds that had rain, and the rain helps flowers grow. The worms are helping in the garden. She has tomatoes, watermelons, flowers, and they're growing in what? The soil, that magic word. So as you can see, they are making connections of what plants need. Next slide, please. Okay, our first picture is Addie. Addie has the sky. She has some flowers, and they're growing in flower pots. The last picture Addie drew was rain that helps the plants grow, and the sun helps too. Butterflies are actually helping the plants, and the worms help the soil by they are moving it around. She says she likes the butterflies the best. So as you can see, it is true. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Next slide, please. These are some of the visuals that we have created. At the very first one says, thanks for visiting the children's garden. This is located at the garden, and you'll notice that there is a QR code. So anyone in the garden, whether we're there or not, can scan the code, and they can give us their input, what they might like to see or what they thought was the super great. And it also helps us to track the number of visitors that we have had. We've also added an information box at the site that has packets detailing the plants and history of those plants. As you can see at the bottom, we offer summer camp. This was from last year. It's on once a week on a Wednesday. You can see that we offered holiday treats for our garden friends in January. And you can also see in the other flyer in Autumn Adventures, which was a lot of fun. This just shows that you can do things not just in the spring and summer, but you can make your garden work for you throughout the entire year. And the last visual you'll see is you want to schedule a visit. We can create that visit to fit your group, however long or short you need it. And if you would like a lesson, we can provide that or just give you a tour. Depends on your needs. Next slide, please. And here are our contacts. I'm in the middle, and I hope to hear from you. If you have any questions or even want to come visit, we would be glad to see you. Okay, that's it from me.
Thank you all so much. Charlotte, do we have any questions for the Q&A?
We didn't have any questions that weren't addressed in the Q&A, so if you had posted a question, I encourage you to look back through. But I did want to call on Liz. Liz mentioned JMG certification. So if you could just speak a little bit to that, and if folks have other questions, because I know both of these presentations were so wonderful. They really just gave us the full picture and helped us understand the amazing work you're doing. But if you have questions, go ahead and pop them in the chat. We do have a few more minutes. But Liz, tell us a little bit about that JMG certification.
Thanks, Charlotte. I will be super quick. So very similar to the Extension Master Gardener program, there are sort of a set number of requirements if you want to go through the Junior Master Gardener certification. After registering in our 4-H online, Junior Master Gardener has their own registration process so they can keep track of numbers. And then essentially what you're doing is I'm going to get these numbers wrong off the top of my head, and I'm so sorry, but I think there's like 12 chapters. Somebody correct me who knows more. 12 chapters in the sort of main teacher leader guide for Junior Master Gardener. And within each of those 12 chapters, there's what are called learning concepts. So say, for example, plant growth and development might have plant life cycle, plant growth, soils, like all the different sort of concepts. And within each of those concepts, you have to do a group activity, and then you have to do a certain number of like kind of take home activities. You also have to do a career exploration activity and a volunteer learning activity. And I can get you all of those numbers. I can send that to Charlotte so you have exactly what that looks like. And kind of to allude to what Paige was talking about, if you're trying to fit it all in, it can feel very stressful. And so, but we've had a lot of schools that have been really successful in doing this after school programs. So maybe groups that are meeting like once a week and they have this like high frequency and they have a lot of time. Most of the activities don't take a lot of time. So in one club meeting or like in an hour and a half, you could probably get as many as like five activities done. But that's sort of, and then at the end, young people are awarded a certificate that you actually print off yourself from Junior Master Gardener, and you end up with these young people that are pretty invested and want to give back to the program. And so that's something to think about.
Fantastic. There was a question that came in. I think it was kind of geared towards both of our groups that spoke, just asking if the activities that were talked about are included in the JMG curriculum, or I guess Liz too, or the Grow For It curriculum that you have available online.
I can jump in for that. So for most of the ones that, of course, that we use for the garden science investigators, they all pretty much come from the curriculum. That's what it was called Junior Master Gardeners for several years, and then we just thought, like, let's rebrand a little bit because we were changing some of the things. So Garden Science Investigators is what we get printed on the shirt. So that's kind of where the name from that came from in general, but we still stick pretty tried and true to the JMG curriculum. For the children's garden, some of the materials and things that we do come out of that, but there are several, like I know the one that you saw there where they were making the plant, I know that one is just kind of things that Jeannie has found in general. So if there are things that you saw in the pictures that you would like kind of the formats or the instructions for, just shoot us an email or shoot Jeannie an email and we can get them scanned over and sent over.
There's a level 1 and a level 2 curriculum guide that we have, and we do definitely use the curriculums and the subject matter in them. And with the lessons that are in them, there's lots and lots of lessons. It's important to take a lesson and look at what age group you're working with, and sometimes you have to rework that a little bit. And that is where kids gardening has come in to as a valuable resource too, because we can sort of take that subject matter and then look for a resource that would look at that particular subject for different age groups, K to 2, 3 to 5. And that way you can cater it. So, you can tailor it to what you're doing. And then the Extension Master Gardener volunteers bring in, their skills and knowledge too. And on top of that, the older kids mainly are deciding what they want to study, and you have to go from there. And their familiarity with the curriculum is helpful, but they have some real distinct ideas about what they want to do. So we take that into account too.
Excellent. Thank you both. So we got lots of compliments coming in, of course, in the chat. And I see Liz has added some more information about the JMG core curriculum. It's got 44 teaching concepts, 44 activities, 44. They're like the 44 number. I guess that's building on 4-H. 44 individual activities. So lots to work from there. And yeah, just some comments about folks who'd like to get that curriculum. It is available online, and we'll post links to that when we send out the recording. We'll include links to those resources. Okay, I think we're about at time. And I see it's pulled up our slide to where you're going to be able to find the recording. And also we'll have a resource doc, which will include links that have been discussed and resources that are available to you. And we thank everybody. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. We extremely appreciate our speakers and the amazing work they're doing, and for sharing it with us and sharing your passion. It was inspiring, and we just look forward to hearing in the future more about the impacts you're having, and so appreciative of the difference you're making in the lives of the youth in your communities. And I think with that, we are going to wrap it up. and wish everybody a great rest of the week. Thank you again.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.